What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. If you're not subscribed yet, now's the time, because what's happening with the Blue Jays right now is absolutely insane, and you're going to want to follow every development. The support from you guys has been incredible, and it genuinely means everything. So thank you. Now let's get into this, because the Blue Jays are about to absolutely shake up Major League Baseball. Following the massive Dylan Cease signing, brand new reports have dropped that reveal not only are the Jays far from done, but something even bigger could be coming. These reports have fans completely fired up, and we're getting fresh information as recent as last night. But here's what's really interesting. New details have emerged explaining the secret behind Toronto's ability to land a huge free agent like Dylan Cease this early in the offseason. And trust me, this is just the beginning. The details are wild, and we need to break it all down. So obviously, Dylan Cease signed the biggest free agent contract in Blue Jays history at $210 million. And yeah, I saw your comments clarifying that technically Vlad's deal was bigger, but he wasn't a free agent since he was already under contract. Fair point. But here's what matters most right now. Keegan Matheson dropped a report asking the question everyone wants answered. Are the Blue Jays still in on Kyle Tucker or Bo Bichette? His answer was a definitive yes. The Blue Jays have the financial flexibility to be in on whoever they want. While the Cease deal does lessen the unlikely odds of getting both, it absolutely does not eliminate them from the running to land a bat at the top of the market. This is exactly what you want to hear as a fan. No matter how you slice it, they have the ability to completely break baseball in terms of spending. They could legitimately get both Bo and Kyle Tucker, which would be absolutely ludicrous. You'd instantly jump to the #1 payroll in baseball. Right now they're sitting third or maybe second, depending on how you calculate it, behind the Dodgers for sure, and possibly Steve Cohen's Mets. But here's the thing. You have the second richest owner in baseball behind Steve Cohen in Rogers Communications. You could argue that in some ways Rogers actually has more resources. They can go out and do whatever they want. The report goes on to say that beyond the obvious need for a big bat, the Blue Jays bullpen remains the next logical step. I said in my video yesterday to keep an eye on Edwin Diaz to the Jays, and now we're seeing that backed up. Last winter, they brought back Jordan Hicks on a reasonable deal. This winter, they're expected to aim significantly higher. Here's the key part that people are missing. Player development quietly plays a massive role here. Past Blue Jays teams needed to spend heavily on bullpen arms, even if it came in smaller chunks. Now they're able to develop some of those arms internally, which frees up money to spend elsewhere on bigger impact players. The fact that they were this aggressive with the Dylan Cease contract sends a clear message from the front office to the rest of baseball. The Blue Jays' trip to the World Series wasn't just a fluke or a lucky run. It's the new expectation and the new standard, which means reports are flying that they're all in on Kyle Tucker still. My video yesterday covered them being all in on Bo Bichette. Now you have the ability to pursue elite relievers, pursue Tucker and Bichette if you want both, all while having just signed Dylan Cease. It makes things incredibly interesting. They also have other avenues if they don't want to go completely nuclear with spending. Let's say they extend Bichette, or maybe they sign Kyle Tucker and let Bo walk. You can now make the trade market a more realistic option with guys like Ketel Marte and others who we'll touch on in a bit. John Heyman dropped a report as well, and the Jays have been heavily linked to Kyle Tucker despite having no obvious need in the outfield. This was before they landed Cease, when pitching was their real requirement. But look at the bottom part of his report. They're also eyeing a top closer and are seen as serious players for Diaz and Robert Suarez. No matter how you look at it, they got this deal done on November 26th. That's the earliest they've ever completed a massive deal like this. They usually wait around forever. Now they're positioned to put their full focus on landing a bat. It's a clear need, whether that's bringing Bo back, whether that's getting Kyle Tucker, or whether it's acquiring someone else through a trade that we're not privy to yet. They're going to do whatever it takes to make this team elite, and they can spend the money to dominate for years to come. Shidavidi provided even more context before we dive into the behind-the-scenes details of the signing. He basically explained the reason they signed Dylan Cease is they wanted a reliable starting pitcher who doesn't miss starts. That was huge value to the Blue Jays, so the Cease deal makes total sense. They also have a history with high walk rate guys turning a corner. Just look at Robbie Ray. She expects the Jays to keep pushing hard in both the Bo and Kyle Tucker markets. You cannot get better news than this as a fan. You're still major players for these guys. It's multiple different reporters now. Mitch Bannon, John Heyman, Keegan Matheson, everybody is saying they're not done. A lot of people thought that by getting Dylan Cease, you couldn't bring Bichette back. That's absolutely not the case. This team is ready to go all in, and they have one thing working in their favor that they didn't necessarily have to this degree in the past. Kevin Pillar tweeted about this right after the Dylan Cease signing. He said, "The world-class facilities don't hurt. Ask any player about the treatment of wives and kids, top-notch people, top-notch facilities, and of course the fact they made the World Series." Mitch Bannon followed up saying one aspect mentioned to him is that the impact of facility upgrades takes time, both in drawing players and maximizing the new tools. The Blue Jays are now 5 years removed from the player development complex renovation and 3 years from the new Rogers Center player facilities. Proof of concept exists, and any World Series appearance helps. We all know about the Rogers Center renovations if you've been to games, but the player development infrastructure has been talked about for years. In theory, it hadn't directly translated to landing top-tier free agents until now. This is the corner that's been turned. As devastating as the World Series loss was, it's clearly having a massive effect on free agents. You now have 5 years of proof of concept for these player development complexes. You have playoff success. You basically won a World Series. As painful as it is to say you came within inches, free agents see that. They see how passionate the fan base is and how incredible the city of Toronto is. Players with kids, players with families, players planning on having families, even players who don't want kids at all. They love Toronto, but more importantly, they're now way more likely to actually choose Toronto. This is sustainable beyond just this offseason. This is going to be happening for years to come. The Jays spent huge money on Vlad. You have your cornerstone superstar locked up. Your prospect pool is looking solid, especially on the pitching side with guys like Arjun Nimala. You completely restocked your pipeline. All of these things matter. To see where we are compared to a year ago when we were talking about Jordan Hicks signings, it's a complete 180. Don't forget you have all these facilities that now have proven results. The proof of concept has happened. This is legitimate. You pair that with the fact the Jays look championship caliber, and you have some aging players like George Springer and Kevin Kiermaier who are upcoming free agents or already gone. Is Springer going to bounce back next year using these tools and resources? Who knows? But the window is now. Go all in, break baseball, get everybody annoyed, become the next Dodgers when it comes to spending. Who knows what's going to happen in 2027 with a potential lockout? It doesn't matter. Spend as much money as you possibly can. You have Ed Rogers, who, if you saw him when he thought they won the World Series live, he was celebrating like crazy. That's someone who desperately wants to win. He witnessed heartbreak the same way we all did in the biggest possible way. Now, with these new reports, they're going after Edwin Diaz. They're going after the biggest free agents available. The timing of November 26th with a Scott Boras client who also represents Tucker and others, this is the moment. They're no longer being patient. They're no longer sticking to rigid internal valuations. They're going big, and they're ready to absolutely break Major League Baseball and bring a World Series championship back to Toronto. If you're as hyped as I am, smash that like button and let me know in the comments who you think they're targeting next. Subscribe if you haven't already, because we're covering every single development as it happens. This is the most exciting Blue Jays offseason in years, and we're just getting started. Thanks for watching, and let's go Blue Jays.